Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the 2022 Georgia runoff election and why at this point I think it's safe to say that Herschel Walker's campaign is looking pretty dire, the state of that campaign is. Again, this is not me saying that the race is safe Democratic or that Warnock is, guaranteed to win. There's a reason I have it as lean Democratic and I have not moved it up. But I think at this point in time, we're looking at a pretty tough election for Herschel Walker to win it. At this point, so let's just look at it because again, it isn't it isn't often that we call Georgia a pretty solidly leading Democratic state, especially before the elections even happen, right? So let's just talk about where we are at this point. So right now, around 500,000 Georgians have voted, and that is a lot lower compared to this point for the 2022 election. It was 1.8 million at that point in 2022, and that's a 72% drop off. Again, in fairness, we've had less days of early voting because, again, I think they track this based on how many days removed you are from the election, and so it's basically just a subtraction problem from election day, which is December 6th. And the issue with that is that the election, like the November election, had I think 2 weeks of early voting, as this election is only going to have 1 week. So that is certainly the interesting part for me. But overall, let's just talk about the turnout from these 500,000 Georgians. Again, that number will increase as we get close to election day, and we're going to get a big update. I'm filming this the night before, so again, we might get a bigger update with a couple 100,000 votes, which again might change the demographics, but not enough to kind of contort what I mean to say in this video. So, anyways, let's start by looking at just the demographics of the electorate so far. So the first thing you'll notice is that it's overwhelmingly female. Females make up 55% of this electorate. It also skewing 65 plus, which again I don't think it's that important. I think it's to be expected because again, we saw this in 2020 in the November election. Older voters tend to vote early, even though that is a more Republican demographic, but they do tend to vote early, which is something that I think is important to account for. But the best way to judge, and I think the most indicative way to judge a Georgia runoff electorate, is in terms of race. So, as you can see right now, the racial demography of this race, or that sounds weird, of this election, I should say, is skewing towards white voters, but not necessarily by the amount that it did even in November. So, if you look at the CNN exit polls, you'll see that, again, this is from a month ago. This is, the first round. Black voters are only 28% of the electorate. And as we know, that's a demographic, as you can see right here, that broke heavily towards Raphael Warnock. So again, the more black voters there are in the electorate, the better that is for Democrats. And as you can see right now, it's up to 38%. So 28% in November, 38% in December. That would be undeniably a winning electorate for Democrats. It wouldn't guarantee a win, but it would functionally eliminate the possibility of any, prediction, outcome leaning towards Republicans. Herschel Walker would need to do a lot better with black voters than he did even a month ago to win an electorate with this level of black turnout. Now, is it going to stay that way? Probably not. It probably won't be at 38% by December 6th. But the fact that it's this high, and again, at this point, when we had 500,000 votes cast, it was, I think, 33 or 34% in October. So again, it is tracking 4% ahead of where it was, in an electorate where to begin with, Warnock did get the plurality of votes. So right now, that black number is just incredibly high for Democrats, and it's outpacing it's outpacing November, where again they did win the election. Now let's analyze this vote in another way. Let's look at the congressional district breakdown. So this is a chart of the districts as a percentage of what they did in November. So the higher the percentage, the higher the turnout is as a share of what it was last month. So if I'm reading this correctly, and again, I might be missing one, but the highest turnout we're seeing right now is from the 4th district. So let's look at the 4th district. Let's see what seat that is. And as you can see, it's a deep blue district. It's in Atlanta right here. I'll zoom in on it. It's a seat that voted for the Democrats 78% to 22%. All right, let's see the second highest district. Let's see the district with the second most votes. Let's see District 5 right next to District 4. These are the two bluest districts in the state that have the highest turnout, both in Atlanta, not even the suburbs, just the city of Atlanta itself, which is over 80% Democratic. For District 5, nearly 80% Democratic in District 4. So just to, I guess, top it off, let's see the third, highest district in terms of turnout. It's Georgia District 7. And so as you can see, Georgia District 7 isn't quite as blue. It's a tick redder, but it's still, it's still a district that voted for Lucy McBath, the Democratic incumbent, by over 20 points. This is a seat in Gwinnett County. It's very suburban, very left trending. And as you can see right here, with these three districts, again, all in the Atlanta area, being the highest turnout districts in the early vote, that's really good news for Raphael Warnock, because again, turnout's going to be down everywhere. But what matters is where turnout's down the most. And if it's down more in rural districts like Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat or, Andrew Clyde's seat, that benefits Democrats, because again, the higher the share of the electorate that, District 7, District 4 make up, that means that they are getting more of their votes out than Republicans are, and that's what they're looking for. So let's just bring this all together. As you can see right here, the first round results showed, decent news for Raphael Warnock, I guess you could say. He won the plurality of votes. It wasn't enough to escape that runoff, but, he got more votes than Herschel Walker, and he did that because he was able to run it up in the Atlanta area. Fulton County, he netted 205,000 votes there. DeKalb County, he netted also 205,000 votes there. Interesting. Look at the suburbs. Gwinnett County, netted 60,000 out of that. Newton's smaller, but he netted 7K. Cobb's the other big one. He netted 51K. And then 17K out of Douglas. This is Clayton. I didn't realize it was that lopsided, but he netted 64K out of Clayton. And then he also, of course, netted nearly 30,000 out of Henry. So, take out Cobb for a second. You add up all these counties. I didn't do the math in my head, but that's hundreds of thousands of votes you're just netting out of these suburbs. Throw in Cobb, you're netting another 50K. Throw in these two Atlanta counties, and you're netting 500, 410K from these two combined. You're netting. I didn't do the exact math, but you're netting 600, 700,000 votes just from Atlanta. And again, the rest of the state overall is going to skew towards Herschel Walker because you have a lot more rural areas outside of Atlanta. But that's a big deficit to make up. And when these Atlanta, when Fulton, DeKalb, and Gwinnett are the counties with the congressional districts that are making up the highest share of the electorate, and again, these are blue counties, as we can see, that's really hard for Republicans to make up elsewhere, like in these rural areas where, again, they're going to break big for Herschel Walker like they did last month. But again, they are not turning out as much. If you take a look, let's just look at, I think, the most infamous seat in Georgia, which is Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat. This is a rural district, very Republican. Republicans need to do well statewide. That's the 14th district. It's one of the lowest, it's literally, I think, is it the low? Yeah, it is the third lowest in terms of turnout. Third lowest. And, the other two, Georgia 3, where's that? I think that's somewhere over here. Let's see that. Yeah, this is another Republican district. And so the fact that Georgia District 3, Georgia District 8, which is also a Republican-leaning seat. Let's go to Georgia District 8. If I can find it. Yeah, Georgia District 8, this is R plus 40 seat, R plus 40 seat, R plus 32 seat. These are the three districts with the lowest turnout. These are super rural seats. And so if they're not turning out to offset the gains Democrats are making in Atlanta, Republicans have a very hard time getting to victory. So that's why I think as of right now, looking dire for Herschel Walker. Again, his path forward, I think, is, potentially, he can't do this himself, but if this number of black voters shrinks and if, turnout from these Republican districts starts to spike in the next few days, I think he's back in it. But right now, I just have a hard time illustrating that path to victory for him. I think it still exists. I think if a lot of things go right for him, he can still win. But at this point in time, I'm not confident in his ability to do so. Yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. If you did, comment down below, like the video. Tell me who do you think is going to win this race? Do you think Herschel Walker still has a path, or do you think it's going to be Warnock? We're going to come back to this video on December 7th and see, which takes age well, which takes age poorly, as I know a lot of you guys did on the midterm prediction videos. But yeah, so again, I do want to say my apologies if my voice sounds like a little raspy or hoarse. I've been yelling all day because I'm recording this on a Tuesday night. It'll come out Wednesday morning. But obviously I was watching the U.S.-Iran World Cup game, and I was, of course I was screaming at that, especially when Pulisic scored, because that was, that was just such an incredible moment. So if my voice is a little weird today, my apologies. It will not be like this tomorrow. But anyways, thank you for watching. Again, like I said, like the video, comment down your prediction, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, guys.